VC Wisdom Pod with Zoe Peden with us today. She's partner at Ananda Impact Ventures. She's also founder at Future World VC, and Zobiwan Kenobi. We're going to speak about VC stuff, climate, biotech, everything in between. Zoe's in London right now, and Europe. There's a bunch of cool things happening in the VC and the startup world. We're going to talk about that today. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast or even get sponsors, podcasts are just amazing to meet cool people, get insights, and even generate business out of it. Who knows? Podpire.com. Zoe, welcome to the pod. Your LinkedIn pic is pretty badass. I love your style. Second time I mention it. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're into nowadays?
Yep. Okay. But badass me. So I spent 25 years building startups and products. So my background's in product, working with software engineers, started in the late 90s, 10 years building stuff for other people, and then 10 years building my own company in assistive technology. So helping people with very severe learning difficulties to communicate using tech. And then one of my investors in that company was Ananda. And then when I exited that company, they asked me to join them. And that's how I've gone the full circle into VC. So it's not from banking and consultancy, which is what the majority, believe it or not, VC is made up of in Europe. It's actually much more similar to the American route in, which is the entrepreneur route of operator. So yeah, that's me.
All right.
And Zobiwan, because my name's Zoe. I had an uncle. And at the time, you could date me. I was born around the time of the first Star Wars, and he always called me, Zobiwan after Obi-Wan. And then it just stuck with me, and I've been a massive Star Wars fan since. I like to dress up and everything. So I'm Zobiwan, and lots of my friends just call me that instead of Zoe as well, and I like that.
There you go. To the last point that you mentioned, I wrote a post yesterday on my Twitter, so let's start with a bit of controversy there. So the post stated that people starting a career in either straight up like VC from like studying banking and straight out of Harvard going as a VC, that's a no-go for me. And people that also start in charities from the get-go, right? We see these kids, maybe I should call out Greta Thunberg here, but with no capitalism experience, that's also a no-go for me. And the why of the first is that, you don't have any founder experience, so how can you even understand them? And which is important as a VC, supporting the folks you fund. And for the social world, well, you need to understand the capitalist world to build something of interest, saying like, let's save the environment and cut jobs is definitely not the way to go, because humans, they need a job first. So what do you think about these two premises?
Yeah, so the polarization. So I've learned as I've got older that things are not always that black and white. I know when I was younger, I was at one extreme to the other. And I think we need everyone. Obviously, I've just explained my background. I come from both sides. I have worked at charities, I've worked in the private sector, I've worked with government, so I've experienced all of them. And I've been a builder, and I've also been a founder as well. So you could tell that I'm a risk taker, but now I represent other people's capital. So I'm a risk manager. So I've done them all. And what I like is to have a team with a mix of everyone. I don't want them all to be like me, with that blend of all of it, everything. I actually really appreciate those polar views that you just said being around me, so that I see these extremes and that I can form my own opinion. And I don't want everyone else to be like me, because if they were all like me, things would never move on and nothing would ever change. Those people have a role to play. And that's me kind of moving as over time, when I used to have extreme angles when I was a lot younger. That's me getting, merging this as I've got older and appreciating differences.
Yeah.
So we need them, basically. We need them.
Yeah.
Much as we would like to think you don't want them, they're actually essential.
Yeah. I could potentially agree with that. I just think that these individuals could be less impactful, and I can certainly think of Greenpeace, for example, that were vandalizing big oil's installation and just not fully understanding the job that these folks create. I think there's some kind of equilibrium between both, but talking about polarities, I think these folks are the exact definition of polar people. They
Yeah, direct
only have,
action.
yeah, well, they have, well, it's not just the actions, it's just that the premise is somewhat skewed because they have never, like, if again, this is somewhat judgmental, but in Greenpeace, they never really owned jobs. Back in days, they were mostly hipsters, and they were just angry hipsters, and they didn't understand the other party because they didn't agree with the capitalism system. By the way, you won't change capitalism. You're going against like extremely strong forces. And because of their lack of understanding, I feel their actions were not as warranted or impactful as they could have been. So I do agree with that. I do think that folks need to have a diverse array of experience and feel and have a feel for capitalism. And as a guy that's really biased for action, rather than just starting a movement and go protest in the street. I mean, we do need some of that, but I would urge folks to go more the social startup route. What do you think about this?
Well, first off, with with Greenpeace, and I remember the campaign for nuclear disarmament, most of them don't start off with the extreme. They start off academic, they start off with policy, and then there's always a faction of society that grabs it and grabs the headlines by going more extreme. So they tend to, movements like this tend to go through a change more to the extreme. It's just, if you look at most things, that's the way it will go on the right and the left. That they get hijacked by a minority who then, that's what us in the middle, the people who are not actively involved in them, that's all that we hear and see. So that needs to be remembered. It's very similar to politics as well. We only remember the people who have the extreme views, the people who sit in the middle. We go, blah, So we're as much to blame on what we choose to hear in our selective hearing and the way that the media, and your role as well in the media, reports things. So you yourself have a very influential role in all this too, as part of the media. So, and turning that back to VC, I think there is change. There has been a lot of campaigning, not just campaigning, but action and change around diversity and diverse recruitment, from all the way from interns to lots of pressure from LPs. So these are the people that invest in venture capital. They can be banks, large institutions, family offices, ultra high net worth, actually looking at the formation of the partnership in VCs and demanding that there's more diversity. Otherwise, they will not invest. And I've seen this. I don't know how strong it is in the US, because I've obviously got more of an eye on in the UK and across Europe. But we're seeing the questions are coming up around pay equality as well across VC, that being measured. So all different angles of diversity, not just male, female, socioeconomic, ethnicity, race, religion, everything is being monitored. So there's lots of pressure, not just coming from the beginning with interns and who goes in, but also who gets the money. And this is a great change.
Could be. Me, I'm more on the neurodiversity side of things. So even if there's a white male founder coming from rich parents, what if that kid can have a Black person in his mind, can have a trans in the other, can somewhat feel all of these people? And most importantly, that even before that, what if they can impact positively all these peoples? I'd still fund that person. What do you think about that?
White men have a massive role to play, privileged white men do, in opening the doors and supporting all these other people. They are still the ones who enter the playing field with a natural advantage, and that must be remembered. One of the things that's being looked at carefully in the UK when it comes to education is white males from lower socioeconomic who have, been abandoned basically in recent years, and much more attention needs to be played towards them. And there are educational policies looking at this right now, because of all the diversity and inclusion has gone the other way. Now it needs to swing back and look at those that have been left behind. So when I speak to my white male colleagues, they know they have a massive role to play in opening the doors and supporting other people into VC, but also with founders as well, and acknowledging that the experiences and life experience of people who haven't come from a privileged background, regardless of what they look like, this needs to be taken into consideration, and looking at the potential of what they could be with the support that we can put around them to make them become more than what other people see, like hidden gems that just haven't been given all those different choices and options early on that others may have. And if they've got this far and they're seeing us as VCs, we've already broken down so many barriers anyway, just to get to us. They are like supreme in, having got there anyway. What else could they do to get to the next stage? So they've already stand out to get to us. So yeah, it's definitely a big thing. And I think about 60 to 70% of my deal flow would be qualified as diverse. So a large proportion, because I guess I'm a representative of that myself, not just being female, but also socioeconomic. So something that you can't detect because you're not English is my accent. Now I have a very strong accent, and anyone who's British can actually tell what kind of school I went to. I went to a state school and I grew up on free school meals. So I'm benefits. That's mine, single parent. So you can't tell that, but that's where I'm from.
really bad at that. I'm still at the stage of distinguishing between Aussie, NZ, and UK accents.
Never mind. But yeah, so there's people from all different walks of life, and me getting on there and talking about this in the media, it's important for other people to hear about it who might come from these different backgrounds. And then you've got role models there who look different, who sound different, who've come from different areas, and they go, I could do this, maybe they already thought I did, but there's people who are already doing it. And that's why I do podcasts like yours. It's a massive motivator for me, not just to talk about Ananda and the things that we do, but we're impact investors, but the broader impact that we can have from who we are and what we represent as well.
I think one of my main biases is that I'm so future oriented and I always live in the future, and it's problematic because people are still at the stage of looking at faces and skin color nowadays. And me, I'm looking forward to the day of a mind API in which you would just, like straight up connect to my mind API with your Neuralink, and
it wouldn't matter, would it? No, it's about the individual.
It wouldn't matter a lot because me, if I think, and the other day I was seriously thinking of a Zoom thing that could change my face like an avatar, so I could be blue, because I really don't give a crap about skin color, but most people do. So I need to sort of invest my time and resources in helping people understand that. And me, I just look at minds, and if anything, and again, that's bias, but if I get Black folk on my podcast like I do nowadays, and they share my story, I'm like, yeah, dude, good job. You came from this tough background. And it's also because they tell me, because I can't assume that they had a tough life, although like most Afro-Americans do have a tough life in the US statistically. And I even consider that to be a bias, for me to be like, oh yeah, good job. Well, I should just treat them as the normal humans. And this is,
it's a shame we're still in this stage. Yeah, we're still in this stage. Hopefully in another generation this will not be the case. I mean, part of me having the name Zobiwan is to get rid of the gender and what I am. It says more about me, Zobiwan, than the rest, my real name. I enjoy it. So yeah,
and Star Wars is cool, right? Because it's all sorts of creatures. It's Chewbacca. Who's the Wookiee? The creature.
Yeah, Chewbacca.
That's Chewbacca. Isn't that the fat guy? Or who's the fat guy?
No, that's Yoda.
No, that's the green guy.
Oh, the green guy. God blimey! I didn't expect to be talking about Jabba the Hutt. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's cool about Star Wars. I love the new Star Treks. My favorite movie is Blade Runner, 2049. Jean-Marc.
No, I like the original.
Yeah, the original is good too, but Jean-Marc Vallée is such a genius. The same guy that created Dune. And that movie was actually criticized for their lack of, I think, well, not diversity, but like objectifying women.
Typically, yeah. Have you seen
You
the
know,
original, June?
yeah,
That's good.
I've seen it also. It
Long.
was very good. So good. But like, yeah, the funny thing or less funny thing, 2049 is like, yeah, you're objectifying women. But I think what he tried to do is portrait exactly the society that we're in right now. And that society objectifies women like crazy. We're seeing boobies and asses everywhere as men, and we get triggered by that, you know. Marketers use that against us. I call it marketics. A lot of people cross the marketics line nowadays, you know. It's just too much. And when you have that power, when you have that genius, you sort of have more responsibilities in your hand, right? And when you're promoting at scale to millions, I think you should gut check yourself and see if what you're putting out there is really making a positive impact. And if you're not going to do that, I think Facebook should have you accountable to do that. And they sort of do, right? They have their policies, but still, I think a lot, let's call it 75% of marketers, I do think they cross an ethics line.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for young people, again, going back to role models, showing alternative ways that you can have a change, have an influence on people without, and have a career in other areas where it's not about compromising your ethics or who you are. You know, you can be more in control, and the media has generally been in the control of men. So the things that we see, you know, are manufactured, the things that we consume has mostly been men. And I think now it would be nice if we could see a backlash and things evened up a lot more. But anyway,
I think we're getting there though.
Yeah,
slowly but surely. I think the environment, that surprised me. Women, it's certainly slower, I think. I have various women's on this pod. Well, I'm not sure the percentage. Maybe I should have that handy.
That would be good for you to have.
It's 30%, I think, which is higher than like 95%.
That's good than most. Yeah.
I actually started a full women campaign 2 days ago, and it's not even mostly to promote the cause. It is a percentage of my intention, but it's mostly because I love odd people. That's who I'm targeting. It's like folks that break the norm, you know. And like the environment, good job. Women a bit less, and forgot her name, but she was simply amazing. CEO of Makina. She was saying that what potentially slowed down in the business world, at least, you know, it's the Elizabeth Holmes of this world, and we've seen the founder. I forgot the name of but like she's gonna get jail time too for lying about her numbers. She said that this affected the cause, but I was like, me, Elizabeth Holmes, I still respected a bunch of things about her, you know. So, but I'm weird, you know. So, what do you think? Do they think they actually tarnish the image of women founders?
I think there was a period of time when it was more difficult, but that's past. This isn't something that's coming up anymore. When I talk to people who are testing hormones or doing, you know, working in healthcare around using devices or anything like that, it's like a lesson learned and a smile in our faces now. We've moved on from it, and I think it's important when we have things like that we do stop and, you know, hold ourselves to account, and VCs do as well, and the founders to be honest. You know, how far do you go with it all, even when you're under immense pressure to fundraise? You know, stay true, particularly the scientists. You know, stay true to where you came from and what your purpose is. But now it's moved on. I don't see anybody talking about that now, which I think is a very good thing.
Right. Okay, I have a controversial prediction to make. I think in 50 to 75 years from now, it's going to be a matriarchal society.
Wow. I think the key on that is childcare and fertility. It would need to change hands, so to speak. There would need to be, men would need to be able to give birth, or someone else would need to, you know, like robot surrogates or something like that.
A womb
like, of some sort. And they've started to be able to do that, haven't they? That's the latest, where they transfer one woman to another, so that this could be a breakthrough. And then there's the childcare thing. Who is the natural one to have that responsibility? So these things have to change, I think, that to happen.
You're right in saying that. And just to back up like my point, well, first, I believe that this world needs more estrogen, aka long-term, and stability. I want to live forever, right? And that is manly, but it's also very estrogen driven, because estrogen is very long-term, right? Like us males, we fight, we're kind of dumb, we expend a lot of energy quickly, while women,
survival
it's
of the
like
fittest.
there you go. And I think we're gonna do like groundbreaking discoveries with like the heart and the brain cells in there, and that women are more like heart oriented. I think that's how society is going to shift. Obviously, I'm an optimist and I'm biased, but I think that's where it will go. And I'm conscious we don't have much time. That the time passed really quick, which is a good sign. But I just want to ask you one last question. What are your priorities this year? What do you want to have on the agenda to achieve, quote unquote?
Well, we're at Ananda. We closed our fund last spring, and it's 108 million euros. So we've got 200 million euros under management, and we've been quite slow to deploy. We've been careful. It's been an odd time, not slow by design, but just seeing things and hesitating. Valuations too high. Valuations coming right into play now, and we're taking more of a research-driven approach, where we're looking at the top 10 areas that we think are going to have the most impact in the next 5 to 10 years. And we're really going down on those and finding the best companies in Europe. So for me, I'm looking at one area of computational chemistry at the moment, which is green chemistry. So finding new materials in a green way, not petrochemicals. And so because of, especially in batteries and in chips, and semiconductors, all that field are just really mining a lot of materials that are going to be finite in the future. So green chemistry is an area. I did a deal last year in biodiversity called a company called Naturemetrics. They're doing great guns. So measuring what's going on in biodiversity using environmental DNA. So I'm looking for more companies around biodiversity, because I've learned a lot on that one. And then the ocean. Wow. There's so much been done on land, but the ocean is another world to itself. So that's really exciting for me. So I haven't found yet where I'm going to put my anchor, so to speak, to use that terminology. But I'm looking across all ocean tech at the moment, because I think the time is coming. And the water and ocean, if you look at that future, if it's matriarchs there, we're going to have a problem with water, because well, we have a lot of ocean water, but we can't do anything much with it. We need to desalinize it, and we're going to have water shortages. Some areas will be flooded and others won't have any, and nothing will grow. So we've got water is a major one, and that's what I'm going to look at.
Love it. Gonna follow everything you're up to. Super exciting, fun job, right?
It is.
My analogy, I mean, again, it's a patriarchal one, but diving my James Cameron submarine in the depths of oceans and exploring. But yeah, anyway, nice talking to you, Zoe. Nice convo.
Really
Pretty
nice
sure it's different from what you typically have. Bringing the social to business, I think people need more of that. Where can people find out more about you?
They can find out more about what Ananda does at ananda.vc, so you can see our themes and what we invest in there. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Just look up the Zoe Peden